Hi, cuties. I'm going to show you how to use a white slip, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the difference between white slip and glaze. Um, White slip and also what we call underglaze are essentially the same thing. Underglaze is commercial, so it's made by a company called Amico, and it comes in a couple of different colors, and it's great. It works really well. It's very predictable. And all of these things that we're talking about right now are colored liquid clay. Or in the case of the white slip, it's non-colored clay. Now I have a big vat of white slip because it's kind of nice to have white. Why? Well, think about a clean window as opposed to a dirty window. And if you put a layer of glass over the top of it that's a color, such as maybe green, so think about how glaze is a layer of glass. You can actually see those colors truer than if you can see it through a muddy window. So I kind of think about white as the clear glass and this dark raw color clay as the dirty glass. Not to say that one is better than the other. They all have their benefits and disadvantages as well. I love this clay. I think that it attaches really well. I think it's very supportive. It's good for throwing. It's good for sculpture, so that's why I've chosen this clay. But sometimes you want a lighter tone to your project. So anyway, here is this leather hard piece, and you can see it's holding its shape pretty nicely. It's not bending, warping, anything like that. You have to understand a couple of things. You want to make sure that your piece is leather hard or drier when you go into this. You're actually adding in moisture because of the liquid in the slip. So I'm dipping into the bucket here. I'm going to paint it on. And I can paint it anywhere I want. Maybe I want some areas where it is not even there. I should probably plan that out first, but I'm just going to paint on this background. Okay, now if you see, the brush strokes are going to be visual information for whoever is looking at this. So if you have that visual information there, this thickness is an art decision whether or not you keep it or not. If you want to smooth it out, it may look better. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply another brush stroke or two of this, and then I'm going to get my brush strokes kind of so that I make some good art decisions. So I think I'm going to go a la Kip O'Crongley, which is an artist that you're going to see in the Google Forms. And I'm going to kind of go with some nice predictable curves. So you can kind of see what that looks like. All right. So I'm going to cut away, and when we come back, this will have dried to a leather hard. And I'm going to show you how you can actually take this and carve into it. So check you later. All right, guys, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about creating an image. I real quickly drew this snail because I am desperate to get this done on a Friday afternoon so that I can submit it onto Google Classroom for you. But I like snails. The reason why I picked it is because I like how they represent slow things. I like being slow, and I like doing things slowly because I think that everybody else is in a rush. That's why I picked it. So I'm not going to profess that this is my best drawing, but it's what I have right now for this. And we have this plate. Okay, this plate is leather hard. The slip is now leather hard, and I can do kind of like a test of it, and I know that, yeah, it's still kind of wet, but the slip isn't, really responsive to my touch or anything like that. There's no little things that are pulling up whenever I touch it. So I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna make sure that I place it in one of those intersections, because what I'm gonna do is the rule of thirds with this snail here. And I'm gonna take my pencil, and I pushed out all of the lead from my pencil so that I can just real quickly press into it, and that way I don't have to do much of any work whenever I do go into doing the actual Sgraffito portion. And if you ever watch other artists doing this, they freehand a lot of it, which is awesome for them, but if you are a beginner, sometimes that can be a little intimidating. So I'm going to pull it up and you have an impression of that snail shell. And so there's a couple of different tools that you can use for thin lines. I actually like using a knife to show tiny different lines. So like you can see, I'm going to put in a ground here and show you kind of like how that line comes out like that. Okay. And so like, remember, I'm working on the bottom third here. If I want to go in with my knife and go through and do some of this drawing, I have to make sure that my knife, like I'm understanding where the actual part of my knife is. So if you notice how I'm holding it in my hand, I'm kind of turning it and changing it. With my knife I can get small little tiny details in, and you're going to notice that there's some like small little hairs that are going to come off. You're just going to have to wait on that so that you don't have to really deal with all of the, you know, issues of it smearing, because right now it's too wet for you to deal with those. You're much better off if you do decide to deal with those. You're much better off getting your project to bone dry and then taking these and just taking a stiff bristled brush, wiping them away whenever you get into a stiff bristled brush, and it'll go from there. So you can see here what I'm doing is getting that image just right, and I'm just tracing it. That's all I'm doing. Kind of working with it. And one thing that I like to do with this is show a little bit of weight. So if I want to show where like the bottom of the snail is, I kind of make the line a little heavier, or the bottom of that shell, maybe like where the shell meets the other parts. I'm going to kind of take that area and I'm going to show a little bit of change in the quality of my line, just so that it's not all this thin line, and that way it can come out. It's like the most perfect scratch board. Now if you want to take out whole areas, let's say that so I have this metal rib here. Let's say that I want to make a nice crisp edge right here, so that it's not white. It's kind of gives my piece a border. I can actually go in, I can bend this even if I want to, and I can simply take it and give myself that edge and just work with it along those lines. So that's Sgraffito in a nutshell. Sgraffito is anytime you're doing scratches. It's an Italian word, and it has a lot of history to it. So I hope you enjoyed this demo. I'm going to put in a little forehead into that guy. There you go. I don't know if I should put a little eyeball or not. Maybe the eyeball works. Take care.